Well met, lords and ladies, Jacob Potter speaking, and a warm welcome to this week's Walking Wednesday. And yes, it is warm now, but you should see what it was like before. It was drizzling like you wouldn't believe. Well, I mean, maybe you would believe it. It's honestly not unheard of for it to happen, but yeah, last time that it was this rainy and this windy, or was that rainy and that windy at the time in the morning, they got into some heated debates about whether or not they should have actually cancelled classes for the day, because it was that difficult to make it even into the school in question. Not the only thing that was heated that day was those debates, but there you go. Also, yeah, I happen to have I guess it wasn't as bad when they first arrived, basically, because I started the following hour, so I had a little bit of extra time before coming in, so maybe it was worse when I got there. I also finished early today. I only had 2 hours of lessons, which is probably the only blessing I've had all day, but that's mainly because I mentioned before that I heard that one of the teachers was retiring. I heard like that rumor going forward, and then starting to drip again. I think I might be getting some. I might need to get my umbrella out. I heard that. That was like the only thing that I had been told in advance. But I heard that rumor, and I wasn't sure. Well, it was from the teacher, so I believed it. But yeah, and that's the reason that teacher one was not my coordinator. So teacher one is, is no longer in the picture, unfortunately. But yeah, I suppose it happened, during the middle portion of, I guess, the school year. Maybe she wanted to say, oh, I was there until the 2024 or something. I don't know. But yeah, because of that, the new teacher, who I guess I'll call Teacher 5, started today, and I met her very briefly. Or I guess you're saying that she was like like the replacement. Maybe it isn't Teacher 5 as much as it is, Teacher 1.5. I don't know. I'll discuss code names another day. But regardless, because that teacher's getting settled in, it didn't make sense to. Oh, they're waving to me. Don't know if you can see them. Right, there you go. Keep forgetting it. Every time I pass by a primary school, they always end up waving. It's the generation that likes when people film. Or I guess likes the ideas of social media, so whatever. Anyway, back to what I was saying. No, I lost my train of thought now. Something to do with, organization, yes. So, because Teacher 5, 1.5, whoever, has, to get settled in, my week was supposed to be with Teacher 1. That was who I was supposed to start with next. But obviously that I thought, well, okay, that's not really fair, because essentially, depending on how the teacher's style goes, that would either involve me taking over, or not really doing too much and having to not get acquainted with the entire class, or potentially, it was like with Teacher 4, taking some of the class with me. So, yeah, it would be a lot. So it's like, okay, I need to give them a grace period, So I messaged the group chat of the English teachers, and Teacher 4, who again is the official coordinator, got back to me and said, okay, well, come in, when it starts, and then I will tell you. I'll tell you what the plan is. And I was thinking, like, okay, well, you should tell me a plan, like, on the day. So maybe like when I woke up, I get a message from her. Not exactly. Didn't get a message from her. got a different message, which I will loop back to later. But yeah, I went in for the welding classes, and yeah, I guess another I don't know if it's a blessing or a curse or whatever, but the I was supposed to start my welding training today, but the welding teacher, who has no code name, I realise, yeah, he actually has started to like sign off on a couple of emails or something, so that hasn't quite happened yet. Not to mention also, because they have like a production schedule that's usually, you know, on a 5-day basis starting on Wednesday, was not helpful to them. So he's had the students on cleaning duty. So I have one last round of conversation. Well, I guess I have one last round tomorrow with them of conversation stuff. But aside from that, yeah, not really. I guess I'm almost done with that kind of thing. So and after that lesson, because I still hadn't heard from teacher 4, I tried to find her in the teacher's room, the teacher's lounge, and she wasn't there. I'm going to take out my umbrella because I think it's going to start pouring again, and I want to be at least somewhat prepared for that. So yeah, give me a moment. The bench is starting to fill up again. My coat is still dripping from earlier. I tried to dry it, but look at that. That's all from earlier today. I'm just going to put it over myself like this for now, and yeah. Okay. So yeah, after that, I couldn't find her in the teacher's lounge during the break time, so I went to my usual choir rehearsal, which wasn't happening, but the music teacher was still there, so I then talked to him. He told me some plans that he had. He gave me an idea for potentially something that might be interesting. Everyone really enjoyed the karaoke that happened during the end of year festival, and one of the things that he mentioned is that he actually, because he wants to try to encourage more people to sign up to the choir, of course, because, you know, why wouldn't he? But obviously it's a very difficult thing to pitch, you know. It's it requires, you know, because people are very embarrassed and shy and whatever. So basically, there's like, okay, we need to get something off the ground, because I said we need to do a performance in the school, because we did that one, you know, like the one we did at the old folks home. That one went down really well. But obviously, if you want to encourage more sign-ups, we need to do what we did in my secondary school, which was we performed a musical number in an assembly to try to increase numbers, which worked. So, like, there's a precedent for it. But yeah, like I guess I don't know what's the issue with organising that, but there's some like roadblock. So I thought, well, hang on a second. Everyone liked the karaoke. Like, we got like many volunteers, you know, coming forward that you wouldn't normally expect. And yeah, it was just a fun time. So I thought, why not combine those two ideas and do a potential group karaoke event? You know, a karaoke, if you will, because choral for choir, but or coro in Castellano. Yeah, why not do that instead? And maybe that get people used to the idea of communal singing in that degree, and then introduce the idea of you know, choir sections and, you know, all of that jazz that you get normally. And that's just a random like spitball idea, but it's like, well, you know what? I'm back already and I'm already suggesting things. When I actually did get to see Teacher 4 before starting her lesson, which she is teaching right now actually, she went over what her plan was to talk about things like people's talents, for example. I mentioned that I should prepare something about that. And I also thought, we could do a talent show of some kind. I mean, then she mentioned that some people, their talents involved things like skating and instruments, which is like, yeah, I can't do that on a class scale. But hey, who knows? Well, now I have two isolated things that will probably be easier to arrange than, let's say, a musical or a pantomime. And that might work better if I'm going to be partially focused on things like Mutant Girl, which, to remind people, Mutant Girl season 3 partially got delayed because of Siren Story. So at least the first episode did. The second episode, and they're almost like, yeah, that's just more stuff in life happening, and the increase of live events and watch hours and whatnot. What else? Sorry, in case I've got people in the way. So yeah, beyond that, don't really know. Yeah, she basically, Teacher 4 sent me home, and I would have returned, and got some food or something beforehand, if it weren't for the message that I mentioned. Remember I said I got a message that wasn't from Teacher 4 when I got up? Well, it was actually from the landlady. So when I got back last night, one thing that I was concerned about was that when I pressed like the key for like the door handle, it started to flash red. Last time that happened, I got locked out because the battery was dead. This was more like a preemptive red. It was like a warning. So I was able to enter today. Well, not today, I mean yesterday. But apparently the landlady has been looking at the door handle bit for some time, because the battery seems to be draining itself much faster. Considering that it got recharged in November or something, it should have stayed. It should still have the charge because the other one works perfectly fine. So basically, the locksmith, who I met briefly before that, has said that what was it? Yeah, said that the battery is just is dying anyway, so that the whole handle needed replacing, and the landlady said that she would accompany the locksmith, and they would be there sometime today. So I said, well, I'm going in. I'll be back at the earliest 2, and it turns out I finished way sooner than that. So I'm biding my time now, basically. But then again, the locksmith said that he would be able to do so in the morning, and morning is almost over. But then again, morning Spanish time is a little bit of like an unofficial guideline, It's like the Pirates of the Caribbean rules and such. So I guess we'll see whether or not I can actually enter, or I have to go into the neighbor apartment for a second time, and presumably and hopefully the last. Yeah. On the subject of, I guess, Pirates of the Caribbean, speaking of Disney stuff, that's where the central part of this Walking Wednesday was supposed to be about, and I just focused on what happened today in the span of 2 hours. My goodness. But yeah, supposedly I was going to talk about something like, the death of Disney Channel, or something like that. This is another rumor that I heard from one of the welding students, that there was a plan to terminate Disney Channel and to focus on Disney Plus, in Spain at least. I don't know about anywhere else. I didn't know when that was happening, or if at all, even if it was going to happen at all, it was just like a rumor. It's like, oh yeah, the numbers are down, so they're gonna can this project or something. I had no idea. So I was I think I basically sorry about that. In the hotel, there's something that happened. First of all, the hotel was a very strange place. It was like I filmed a short while I was there that I will also be posting today probably. That establishes that the hotel had a very specific gimmick in mind for its marketing and whatever else. And yeah, that was it definitely threw me for a loop a little bit. But that wasn't the only thing. A lot of hotel rooms, of course, they have TVs in them. And this TV had access to the usual channels that you would have, including Disney Channel. And I turned it on. Then when I got back home after I got there, I switched it on, and then and then decided to watch some stuff. And of course, to no one's surprise, the first thing that I saw was actually Miraculous, which is the usual programming center time that I usually watched it at, because that's where I kind of started to gain interest in the show in the first place, when I got to see those random moments in Carnota. And so to no one's surprise, that was on. To my surprise, it was in English. I was like, wait a minute, what? Hold on a second, why is this in English? So I tried to change, maybe someone, one of the previous guests had changed the settings. So I looked to see if there was a way to change the settings, and there wasn't. So I was like, okay, this is weird. What's going on here? And still not really got a concrete answer on that one, but yeah, because it turns out there were so many things that were happening. So Disney Channel was in English. Boing, the other channel that I used to watch as a child, and thus have picked up the habit of doing so again, that was in Spanish. There was a movie that was on in one of the other programs that was Asterix and Obelix, but that's and that was in French, which kind of makes sense, because they know that's a French product. So if there was a setting to put something in its original language, then that would be the language that would be aired in. Okay, fair enough. You know what's also French? Miraculous, but that was in English, as was everything else on Disney Channel. So I have no idea what happened there. And then the next day as well, I decided, okay, well, I don't have to be anywhere for right now. I've got plans, in the late afternoon to meet up with some people. So I've got some time. Let's put on some more TV. Let's put on some more Disney Channel. And it turns out that was a great decision on my part, because I don't tend to watch any TV in the mid-afternoon. And I thought, well, okay, this is interesting. They have some old programs on here. The first thing that came up was Good Luck Charlie, which used to be my top favorite show of all time. Again, just placed between Code Lyoko, which for a while didn't air, so it didn't count. But yeah, Code Lyoko then obviously it teetered between the two of them for a little bit. That was the one fad that I had, basically, Good Luck Charlie. To the point where I actually my first time really vlogging with a camera was actually trying to imitate the main character Teddy, and when my youngest cousin was born, made a series for her. In fact, that was my first. That was even before I had a YouTube channel. But yeah, either way, like that was like, you know, the one that me and my brother were always like the most excited to see for whatever reason. And not only that, but it was also the Hawaii special, which was, you know, one of like the major like big event ones. Followed swiftly by I think it was a double of Wizard of Waverly Place. You know what, like the first special they did, where, you know, they went to WizTech for the first time. Their Hogwarts ripoff, basically. And that's not me being you know, gatekeepy about magic schools in general. They literally molded it off of Hogwarts, and they made a joke about Justin looking like somebody's like, what was his name? Like Parry, Larry, something like that, with glasses. But yeah, and then after that, I think I stopped after that point, or maybe I carried on a little bit longer because I had to go. So, you know, obviously didn't want to stay for too long. And yeah, by the time that I came back, I changed the settings to sit like the actual language of the TV. I set it to German because I thought, okay, this will make sense. And then when I put it back on again, to the end of the day, instead of Disney Channel, it still says that, but now it comes up as a thing called Squirrel. And I was like, wait a minute, okay, this is a weird setting. I then reset it, but it still said Squirrel. Disney Channel was gone. And like, I don't know, I think part of me suspected that was the moment of, you know, the channel being terminated, because I had heard the rumor, but yeah, I didn't confirm it until I actually got back to the flats after, you know, after an arduous several bus journeys, and, you know, the risk of the lock not working. A risk that continues, I guess, because I haven't heard back from the landlady about the locksmith yet, even though she said she was going to keep me posted. Yeah, after that, yeah, it still says Squirrel. So it's like, okay, I haven't changed the settings to German on here, so yeah, what's going on? So I looked up you know, Squirrel channel, Squirrel Canal, and that's where it came up that yes, Squirrel is the official replacement on Spanish Freeview TV for Disney Channel. Disney Channel, what they were doing, the reason they aired Good Luck Charlie, Wizard of Waverly Place and all that stuff, is because they were airing a bunch of their, you know, multiple successes to celebrate the last day of emissions. And apparently the part that I was watching actually drew in like the most crowd. Wizard of Waverly Place particularly had like 1.1% of like the total entire like viewership of TV in Spain at the time, and a total of actually 4.8% of the age range of 13 to 24. Not sure how they track that, considering you can't actually, because they also said like, you know, like they also mentioned statistics for like the kids or something, which you can't collect legally. So I don't know how they got those numbers, but, you know, they feel like, hey, I was part of the 4.8%. You know, I contributed to that. Because of course, over the years, I've obviously contributed substantially to, well, to a degree that one person can, to Disney Channel and to, you know, a bunch of like those TV programs, and I've continued to do so because, you know, despite the fact that I'm no longer the target age for their programming is still fantastic. I still want to see what kind of things they bring to the table. It's still interesting for me. I guess it still was. So I guess ultimately, by complete accident, I ended up witnessing some of the best parts of the of the last day of Disney Channel in Spain. You know, one of the formative TV channels that I actually used to watch. The first one, of course, was Clan, which was where first I watched things like Code Lyoko and obviously the Spanish dub Ben 10, which I already got Super Cartoon Network and blah blah. Melody as well. But then eventually my brother and I branched out and tried to look for different things, and that's where we found, well, actually no, we found Boing because I went to a friend's house. So I knew it existed. Disney Channel was a complete accident for us. We just kind of found it one day, scrolling around. My brother was scrolling, and then we also realized it was like the one channel that we also that had the same programming in English, you know, based on like, you know, our Nan's cable package. But here's the thing: it was always part of Freeview for Spain. We didn't know what a cable package was, or why my Nan got you know, why our Nan got more programs than we did. It wasn't until later that we kind of realized that. Or even knew what, even learnt the term cable. But yeah, of course, you know, the decline of cable happened a long time ago, and that's why they moved into streaming services. So I guess, yeah, Disney themselves have maybe made that decision. I don't know who ultimately made it, whether or not it was like the Spanish networks or it was Disney themselves. I'm guessing it was Disney. Mainly because I don't see, because Squirrel, what they do is they have like access to like the Net.tv library of films, and they basically recycle those. And a lot of them are films that don't necessarily have the biggest, you know, current presence. I mean, that could be something to incentivize people, but then again, they're just going to be known as the channel that replaced Disney Channel. I don't think they have much of a chance. I would love to be wrong, but I don't know. Like, some of the movies on there, I was like, I don't know. What is this? So ultimately, apparently the way that it ended, based on news articles, was that they played the last episode of Hannah Montana, which in turn spoiled the last episode of Hannah Montana for me, because when I worked up the clip at the end, they played their like stinger at the end, you know, the logo. They showed that one last time, and then afterwards they had like a title card that says, you know, to go and watch. They had an advert for Disney Plus first to make sure people will still continue to watch the stuff that they put forward. And then afterwards they had they think it said like, you know, keep watching Disney Junior, which isn't on Freeview, by the way. So that's not really an option for some people to do that. So yeah, by the way, because like there's a puddle from the rain from earlier. So I don't know. I mean, ultimately they know what they're doing. They didn't get the numbers, so I guess it wasn't viable. I'm sure I'm sure we're going to hear reports of people like a spike in Disney Plus purchases, which will ultimately validate what they did. Obviously, I've had Disney Plus for, you know, over a year at this point, so it will not, like, you know, I won't be part of the, you know, noticeable, I suppose, increase there, or the noticeable result of what they did. Oh, hey, look, it's the one of the guys up there on the right. That's the sorry, the one on the left on your ends. That is the nice police officer, the one who did like the immigration stuff. Allow me to watch the Cabalgata and English channel for the last time anyway, in his own way. So yeah, it was so weird to have that be my final Disney Channel experience in Spain. You know, in English, in a hotel, watching two of the programs that I had like a very close connection to. Some of that was by design from them, but some of it wasn't. And yeah, like it's not. Some people are going to be saying things like, yes, well, you know, good, Disney's numbers are declining because, of course, you know, they are, you know, they're terrible, you know, down with Disney and such. And I get that. And if you feel that way, I get it, because, like, you know, especially in recent years, Disney has tried now to even move away from virtue signaling in their movies, because they realize that that's not getting them anywhere, especially with Snow White now, compared to other stuff that has dabbled in that in the past, but they've really, really seen the crunches now. But so yeah, like, people are celebrating that portion, like how Snow White is damaging Disney now, and in some way, I guess the movie that made them, you know, in the 30s, now 90 years later, being the thing that ultimately, like, brings them to a close, is almost poetic for people. The thing is, I never want to see the downfall of Disney. I would love it if, you know, they had like a managerial change, or, you know, they weren't so money focused considering how much they've earned anyway. And if they stopped, you know, pouring too much money into films that don't require such a massive budget, they would be able to, you know, keep the stuff that actually interests people up, like, you know, the Spanish Disney Channel, let's say, just spitballing here. So I don't want to see the death of Disney. I want to see the I want to see the fixing of Disney. Like, in an ideal situation that will you know, most likely not happen. You know, Disney would relent slightly, or they would focus on the stuff they used to focus on, which in turn would hopefully earn them a lot more of a return on investment, because people miss the old stuff. I think Nuxanor said that that, you know, Disney is butchering people's childhoods, and but that will end up resulting in them having to, you know, switch back to the stuff that, you know, garnered audience satisfaction rather than just the profits, which are two separate things, of course, you know, but they can go hand in hand. So that's one thing that I wonder about, because, yeah, he said, like, oh yeah, of course they're butchering your childhood, but that's a sacrifice I'm willing to make, in his own, you know, Nux kind of way. And, like, Nux has predicted a bunch of stuff in the past, you know. He's kind of been known to pre-watch life, let's say. That's the kind of one of the running jokes on his channels multiple, because he has Nux Taku as well. So I'm hoping he's right on this one, because, like, I mean, sure, you know, butcher my childhood a little bit, because ultimately the thing is that in some way there's always the same stuff to go back to. That's kind of the message of Disney Plus, essentially, where it's like, well, I mean, you can go back to this stuff and you can go back to it whenever you want. So on that level, I can see why they push for that. Because ultimately, I remember that the reason that I got so into iCarly later on, after Good Luck Charlie actually, was because we TiVo'd it, and we had the episodes we could actually watch whenever we wanted. It was like that version of on demand, because it also aired relatively late for us at the time. Nowadays it airs at the same time. It aired now before I streamed, so it doesn't matter to me anymore. But there you go. So that's another thing. I mean, of course, yeah, that's a great idea in principle. It just means that, you know, anything that premieres on Disney Channel going forward will not be as accessible in Spain for longer. For example, season 6 of Miraculous, which I was championing and I was excited about, and I posted that to one of the Discord group chats, where, you know, Maya, who also likes to talk about Miraculous with me, was also expressed excitement about this. Because I mentioned, like, oh yeah, it's premiering on like January 25th on Disney Channel in the US, which incidentally we're not premiering in France first. I mean, I get that Disney like picked them up and like helped renew them, but I was like, really, a US like premiere for a French show rather than the French one? So I thought, like, hey, maybe this already has aired in France potentially, or will air slightly earlier. This happens to be this episode be an article focused on the English side, and that's it. because it's an English source. I don't know, maybe. My interpretation of that is like, oh yeah, I can look through the Seven Seas, let's say, yaha fiddle dee and all that. But it's like, that's not what I was getting at. Because the thing is, like, I could have done that for the London special, but I specifically waited until there was news and they stopped saying, like, you know, premiering soon on Disney Channel, or, you know, I wanted to wait till like the actual date so I could watch it on Disney Channel as a premiere, the same way I did with the plastic special, because that's part of the fun for me. I mean, yeah, ultimately this is a bygone era situation where it's like, well, you know, TV premieres don't mean so much anymore, but the idea of, you know, tuning in something at a specific time, or, you know, getting to experience the episodes like as a surprise rather than just, you know, giving into the temptation of binge watching. Don't get me wrong, I like that stuff too. But that's the key. I like both of them. And one option is definitely dwindling away. So now in all likelihood, I will end up watching season 6 of Miraculous as it comes out on Disney Plus, which, you know, ultimately will give me, you know, got me like the same result, because I can definitely just put that on a TV. But, you know, as far as like levels of excitement goes, unless they release them, you know, in different, you know, at different times, it's not as pronounced. There's no like waiting periods to, you know, get excited about stuff or to ignore disappointments or anything. It's just like, you know, blah, 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 blah. So on that level, I definitely miss that portion. I am glad, you know, that we still have an option to some degree, you know, because after getting Disney Plus for the Percy Jackson series, because my brother wanted to watch that with me, after, you know, getting it for that, so I was like, okay, well, you know, I've got a year to use this before they charge me again, in theory. I obviously kept it for longer, but you know, it's like, okay, well, might as well. First of all, I watched Snow White, you know, the 30s one, obviously, the one that's like actually out at the time of me filming this. That was my starting point, and then like wanted to carry on with all the films, and then eventually I was like, okay, well, I'm going to watch some Hannah Montana, in fact, because I have like a DVD of that in Spanish, but never actually watched the show because that was actually slightly before, you know, started watching, you know, any sort of TV. And yeah, and then it kind of spiraled from there. Like Austin Alley as well was another one. Then I started watching some new shows like The Owl House, and it just kind of spiraled. It was like, well, now it's like, well, I mean, I'm gonna keep this. I'm gonna continue using it for its intended purpose. I obviously watched like the rest of Miraculous that I hadn't seen at that point, because one drawback to Disney Channel in Spain was that they aired the same like season 1 and 2 episodes repeatedly rather than the new ones, which Disney themselves helped to make, ? Apart from one specific year where they aired season 4 more so, because I think that was like the year that came out, I believe. I don't quite know. And I guess I did watch all of season 5 on Disney Plus, so okay, I guess, you know, to some degree it's not as bad as I'm making it out to be. But it is obviously what they intended. They want that to be the case because they want that platform to succeed more than it already is currently. And yeah, I remember when Disney Plus got announced and like Disney decided to like withdraw the streaming rights from other softwares, from other like services, I mean, in favor of themselves. And that was like could be like a huge blow to all these different networks and the streaming wars and whatnot. And to some degree, yeah. Then again, I never actually got any streaming services myself, aside from Netflix slightly later, I think. Between the two of them, I've got enough content. It's like, oh yeah, do I miss out on some HBO shows or something? Sure. Also, of course, you know, in the UK, you get ITVX, which is free but with ads. So that also helps with stuff, you know, that airs on ITV, which is fantastic. But yeah, I definitely have enough content to, you know, satiate me in that regard. Not to mention as well that, obviously the thing that I use the most is YouTube, so there's a bunch of stuff on there. Which, by the way, they've made like a creator announcement on YouTube, on the dashboards, the people's dashboards, where it says something about like YouTube on TV, which of course you can put YouTube, the app, on your television, but I think they mean something different, and I've yet to read that article. So I don't know what that's about yet. I'll say one of the most surreal things that I've seen on TV recently is the Spanish dubbed version of Law DIY. Because apparently she had a show. I was like, I didn't realize this actually happened, but wow, yeah. Kind of a bizarre concept. But yeah, definitely mixed feelings overall, I guess now it's now it's up to me to ultimately make the call. I'll be able to skip more big city greens that I'm not interested in, for example. Or I guess that they call them in Spanish the greens in the big city, which is not as catchy. Yeah, I guess it will remain to be seen. I wonder if the nostalgic shows that they aired on that last day will get a spike or not recently, given that my temptation is to start with them now. So, we'll see what happens. Who knows? I might. I'm going to wait a couple of days for the spikes to die out, just so I can see the statistics without contributing to them myself. But after that, who knows? I was going to say I might watch some stuff when I got back, but then it's like, no, I'm not going to do that. Mostly because I don't know if I can actually even get to the apartment yet. I've got to check, see if the locksmith has been or not. We'll see. We'll try the magic door handle, and if not, see if I have to go to the neighbor's house once again, and once again, bring in some food for myself, switch on that TV, and unfortunately not watch one of the channels that I've grown up with and has been airing on Spanish networks for 27 years. RIP Spanish Disney Channel. You will definitely be missed. But yeah, on that note, please leave a like or dislike because your opinion matters, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. And until next time, farewell.